Bitcoin is an asset class. And that's a major revolution. If Fidelity and BlackRock and if 10 other ETF issuers all agree that Bitcoin is an asset class, right, it should be 10x to 100x bigger than it is right now.
GM, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you had a great weekend out there and now tuning back in for your daily dose of crypto news and updates. And in today's video, we're focusing on the ETF decision. So we know that Grayscale's ETF application was initially rejected by the SEC, but a court then ruled against that ruling and said, look, they have to approve it. And the SEC have subsequently decided not to appeal said decision. Hence, we're getting some good price action here this morning. So we're going to jump into that, the finer details and the potentiality of the ETF, because this, of course, is going to be a major market mover, some serious bid coming to spot markets for Bitcoin very soon. So if you do appreciate the content today, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Roughly 60% of the viewers are unsubscribed. So if you could subscribe, that will help me out a ton. Let's jump in. So as we look at the chart here, the BlackRock lows here are seemingly the floor price for Bitcoin. Now, I do want to touch wood at this point as well because we want to see these lows hold. I think they are an important area on the chart. As of course, too, is the BitBoy arrest here, pretty much coming in with a bottom for sentiment. Now, the pivot was being tested here around 27K. Over the weekend, we actually came below it. So quite amusingly, it was actually Friday night that the SEC's decision not to appeal the Grayscale court ruling actually came about. This was after the markets were closed, however. And as you can see, we came below 27K. That was the pivot point on the chart. We're going to move the pivot point up now to around 27.5 as per some analysis from Eric Crown earlier this morning. So that is our new pivot level. We do want to see Bitcoin close above 27.5 for this upward momentum for price action. We're seeing quite a bit of spot driven demand here coming in as this news, this fundamental change here does actually filter its way into the markets. So that is where Bitcoin currently resides, 27.7 as we film. If we just see what happened over on Binance, quite an amusing one here from Ratika Trades. GM to everyone, especially the bears that got carried out on Binance right about now. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten as we see a big spike up in volume, a huge amount of liquidations, and then the open interest falling off a cliff, denoting that the open interest was heavy in favor of people piling in on the short side, expecting BTC to crater down. Price pumps carries out those shorters, and as you can see, open interest back down here, and we're left with some nasty liquidations. So GM to those bears. So as we know, the Bitcoin Spot ETF is going to be a key market driver for this next cycle. So this was the news that actually dropped Friday. And as you can see from the timestamp down here, 9:55 p.m. and I believe that was New York time. And it states the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, will not appeal a recent court ruling that found it was wrong to reject an application from Grayscale Investments to create a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund. So the fact that they're not going to appeal means, of course, they are going to approve it. We don't know exactly how quickly they are going to approve it, but if they're not appealing it, it means they're going to have to press that green button for the conversion for Grayscale. Grayscale did come out with some comments saying that they are ready for when the SEC does give the official ruling. They're ready and waiting to convert to Spot ETF. Now here was the judge's comments previously in the last month. Judge Naomi Rao wrote, "The denial of Grayscale's proposal was arbitrary and capricious because the commission failed to explain its different treatment of similar products. Points out the fact there was no material difference between the exchange traded fund on the futures price versus spot, as futures prices reflect those of the underlying spot market. And so it doesn't make any sense you haven't approved the spot ETF when you have the futures ETF, and the futures is fundamentally the same price as spot, or at least there or thereabouts." So Gensler yet again taking a fat L, and this does mean, of course, we're going to see a spot ETF come out. Now the question is, will the markets price this in quickly, maybe over the next few weeks, because that news on Friday is quite big in terms of the timelines available here. And as Eric Balchunas previously posted, the third deadline is the column to really concentrate on here. Just pull this up a little bit. You can see there are numerous dates now at the early portion of January of 2024 where we should have a deadline. BlackRock, Bitwise, VanEck, WisdomTree, a load of the big names including Galaxy, etc., all have early January deadlines. So with these recent events, what we're seeing is a bit of an opening up of the possibility of the Spot Bitcoin ETF. Here we have the next set of deadlines, early Jan. Could we therefore potentially know about this maybe in the next month or two, as typically news does break early? So if we do get this kind of rumblings of they're going to approve it on the next set of deadlines, which would be January, so the spot ETFs to actually take place in January, there's a likelihood we would actually get to know that news before the actual deadline does come. I'm also seeing some people speculate that they will actually come out prior to these deadlines and just start approving the whole host of ETFs as well. So stay tuned. It's going to be very interesting. But what is the potential implications for the market here? Well, we're going to have a huge driver of spot demand like we haven't seen previously. So the institutions are coming. Funny enough, this comes around the same time we're going to have wide-scale money printing, it looks like, and further devaluation of the US dollar. So we're moving over to the crypto standard here for BTC, and all of these asset managers will be shilling products like they have crypto Twitter accounts saying, look, buy Bitcoin, diversify yourself, allocate a couple percent of your portfolio to BTC to stay safe. And so having these huge companies shill our bags for us is going to be very interesting to see. You can see from this the total AUM of these titans, $16 trillion plus. BlackRock, 9 trill. Fidelity, 4.5 trill themselves, assets under management. Crazy, crazy numbers here. They have more money than many nation states out there. So this is the kind of bag shillers we can expect to come in for us. And when you actually contrast this to the market cap of Bitcoin, $542 billion right now. So $500 billion. A lot of these companies have assets under management way in excess of the total crypto markets. You can see the crypto markets are just a drop in the ocean to this wider financial system. So I wanted to pull up a trader's take here. So Runner XBT put out some thoughts. He says this: SEC decides to not appeal the Grayscale case after Friday's market closed. 2 nights later, the CME opens and there's a non-stop turbo TWAP bid on Bitcoin, both spot and perps. So he's saying that the market's anticipating a faster process for Bitcoin ETF approvals and maybe likely all at once, and perhaps not in March of 24, but before end of year 2023. This is his assessment of current situation and price action. Bitcoin dominance also up. Everything else, with a few exceptions, should struggle as Bitcoin is the dominant force in the market. And he thinks on today's US Open for the markets, expecting GBTC to be up mega, and the same for coin, i.e. Coinbase stock, if this assessment is correct. So that potentially what is being priced in right about now. We go over to the GBTC discount. You can see back in January, it was almost a 50% discount to the price that of spot. It's now close to around 16% ish, the discount to the net asset value. So expectation, this will close up as we get the potential Grayscale ETF to be approved by the SEC. Now, a very quick look at Bitcoin dominance as well, because this has started to tick on up a little bit. It was roughly 51%. It's up to 51.3%. Not a huge move, but in the grand scheme of things, with the total values underlying the crypto markets, it is quite a big move upwards. But as you can see, historical context here, we have this box that was capping the Bitcoin dominance for the whole of the year 2022 and 2023, but it has broken out, tested as support, and seems to be going up yet again. You can see the major breakdown here from April of 2021. Bitcoin dominance sat at 60%. So is there the potential here that we do eventually see Bitcoin move its way up to around 60%? And this could be the kind of top area for dominance going into the next cycle. And then eventually we have one of these craters down and a massive altcoin season in maybe the latter end of 2024 or maybe 2025. That's my kind of prediction for the way that this might play out. Now, the market is still very much fearful here. We're moving towards neutrality, but still 45 reads, 47 reads, etc. Not the best. So a bit of a divergence between price action slowly ticking on up. We're not putting in new lows, even with the fear of war in the background, etc. The lows are in fact getting higher over time, which is positive for a bullish outlook. And it's obviously good to see that people aren't getting overzealous and really piling in here and getting confident in the markets. If we want the upward price momentum to continue, we do want there still to be fears around. Now, I wanted to end up with the BTC analysis with this from Pentoshi. He says, when the printers come back to inflate away the debt, and they will and always have, just remember BTC is fundamentally the hardest asset in the world with both a programmatic monetary policy and fixed supply. always there will be a next cycle. So if I just pull this up here, you can see he's actually charted out a path of continued sideways and down chop here in towards the end of 2023 into the start of 2024 before we get the mega moon action post halving, with a top coming in somewhere around 2025 at a price point of 180,000 US is his kind of line in the sand here. That'll put us on a path of pretty much 3x in the previous cycle's high, something we did in the previous cycle as well. 20k to roughly 60k, and then 60k up to 180, a 3x. I think a 3x on Bitcoin would be very enjoyable indeed. Looking at things right now, you think that is a bit outrageous, 180,000 US, but with bid coming in from TradFi markets, huge funds and financial institutions, maybe this isn't too much of moon math, but right about now, with current sentiment, it does seem a million miles away. So putting this into context with a Wall Street cheat sheet here, I do believe we're somewhere in the midst of a depression here with the time-based capitulation ongoing. I'm definitely feeling it, and I can see that everyone else is feeling it online as well. Due to the fact it is very boring and watching things bleed out very slowly is not an enjoyable thing to be participating with particularly, but at some point we're going to get this disbelief rally before we kick off into the new cycle, and maybe we'll get the disbelief rally prior to the 2024 halving with a spot Bitcoin ETF being approved prior to that as well. So potentially what we could have is a bit of a run up and then a sell the news event as the actual halving takes place. Or another way this could play out is that we actually have a run up into the spot ETF being approved. So everyone front runs the actual ETF, it gets priced in very quickly, and then there's not enough spot demand to actually sustain that once the ETF does go live, and then that could be the sell the news event and a final drawdown before we actually go into a bull market with a subsequent halving event taking place after that. So I do think the greater the rally we have into these events, the larger chance there is that they do become sell the news, but it is becoming very apparent that we are going to have a mega run at some point here for Bitcoin and crypto due to the fact we're going to get money printing, interest rates coming down, a halving event, and the institutions shilling our bags. Pretty epic stuff. A bit of a powder keg. Then a quick bit of alpha here on Kuji because this has continued to moon over the weekend. Kuji is the most undervalued midcap, says Crypto Distilled. Since the macro bottom at 16k, Kuji has been the fastest growing L1 on the market. TVL has outpaced price by a 40x, which is quite an outrageous stat. And we've reached 98% of circulating supply. And actually, it's November when there is no more supply to come onto the markets. Kuji's up to like 97, 98 cents, up 15% again. And I think it may have something to do with this. So a bit of alpha if you don't have notifications on for some of the Kuji gang. Code Hands is the lead dev. Spoiler here, in relation to perps talk, so perpetuals are coming to Kujira, and KP was suggesting, look, it's going to be great for Orca because liquidations of perps may be going to feed Orca whales. However, spoiler, probably won't use Orca. All liquidations of perps set to go straight to stakers. So there's going to be tons of liquidations, of course, on perps because people are essentially gambling on up or down. And we've all seen the data out there. It's pretty transparent in crypto. Shitloads of people lose shitloads of money. People blow their accounts up on a regular basis. So if you imagine all the liquidations of this L1 ecosystem over on Kujira going directly to the stakers, this could have a huge impact on the amount of revenue to token stakers of the Kujira token. And as more people stake the Kujira token as well, it becomes more scarce, less coins circulating, number go up tech. But this is the kind of alpha, as you can see, in terms of 7,000 views on the original tweet. This reply's got 42,000 views at this point. This kind of alpha is getting around the community very quickly, and this is getting some follow through bid as a result, I believe, as well. So definitely a very exciting time in the markets for primarily Bitcoin, but a few select alts as well. Keep getting very bullish catalysts. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please show your appreciation down below. Subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you again tomorrow. Peace.